Hey everybody, and happy Monday! Welcome to the final weather for Weather Geeks of the month of September. Hope you had a good weekend. Today turned out to be a rather warm and muggy day, that is for sure. But kind of how I characterized it earlier was that today kind of child's play compared to what's coming our way as we open the month of October. First things first, it rained last night and this morning for the first time in almost a couple of weeks in a lot of spots. We had legitimate rain, especially in the pre-dawn hours, and these are some rain gauge numbers. Close to a half an inch, even a little more than that in some places, especially from 224 on south, and those are the places that actually need it the most. Those are the places that have had the least amount of rain over the last 6 weeks to 2 months. So some beneficial rains occurred earlier on today. All right, of course, as we're wrapping up the month of September, it's time to look at the final numbers for the month. Boy, was it a warm one. Only 4 cooler than average days, and those featured highs in the 70s. We had no highs in the 60s this month for the first time in recorded history in the month of September. We had just about 3 consecutive weeks of above average temperatures to end the month, including today with a high of 80, 5.3 degrees warmer than average for September of 2019. Now, it did not get quite as warm as I thought it would over the weekend and into today, so we didn't really climb the list too much on the list of hottest Septembers on record, but we did finish in the top 10. Last year, we were just a shade below last year, I should say, by a couple of tenths of a degree. There's 2018, here's this year, 2016 is here, 13th place is 2015. We've had a lot of really warm Septembers lately. All right, when I show a graphic like this, there are some who see all these dates from the 1930s and say, oh, doesn't this disprove climate change? Because all these hot temperatures back in the day when no one was talking about climate change. And the answer, of course, to that is no. We had kind of a spirited, if you will, discussion on my Facebook page about that graphic over the course of the weekend. Unfortunately, I had to ban a couple of people from my page who started to, just take things a little bit too far. I'll play ball with just about anybody who wants to talk about weather and climate and that sort of thing. But when it gets into the, well, you're a shill and you only know what you see on the news and things like that, that's when you start to insult my career and the thousands of meteorologists who I know and respect. That's when enough is enough. And so, yeah, unfortunately, had to cut a couple of people out of my Facebook page this weekend because they just took things too far. And it was all about climate change, of course. There's a lot of people who deny that climate change is even occurring, which is kind of like denying that cigarette smoking is bad for you. It's just one of those things these days. This is accepted science. It is the overwhelming scientific consensus. Yes, you can peruse the internet and find all sorts of fringy studies and fringy web pages and fringy opinions. You can find an opinion on anything. You can have your opinion confirmed about anything on the internet these days, including climate change. But just because it's on the internet does not mean it is true. And one of the reasons why the 1930s really stick out in our local climate, it's not just September, it's a lot of dates in the calendar year. A lot of our record highs are from the 30s. Yeah, the 30s were a really hot decade across North America. It was the Dust Bowl. And in parts of Canada and the US, it was a very warm decade. But look at the rest of the globe. Warm temperatures out over the ocean in the northern Atlantic, but you're hard-pressed to find a whole lot of red and orange blotches here in the 1930s. Fast forward to the current decade, and the world is basically on fire. Basically, nowhere across the globe has had a cooler than average decade over the last 10 years. So, global climate change is just that. It is global. We have to look at the whole globe. Just because we had hot temperatures in the 30s here in Youngstown, Ohio, and in a lot of places across North America does not mean that climate change is not a thing. So, anyway, off my soapbox on that. Back to the here and now, and over the weekend, remarkable amounts of snow. Early season snow up here in the Northern Rockies, Great Falls, up into the higher terrain here, into parts of Alberta, and into parts of Saskatchewan as well. A few feet worth of snow fell in some spots. When it's really stormy out west and cold out west, typically it's the reverse in the east, and that is the case. We have this monster ridge, of course, over the east. Sometimes we call this the death ridge because it just suppresses everything. There's hardly ever any rain underneath it, and of course temperatures are usually way above average, and that, of course, is the case. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet this evening across the U.S. when it comes to precipitation. And, you would not know it's September 30th by this map. This dew point map is resembling midsummer, of course. Middle and upper 60 dew points. It is muggy outside, and it's muggy all the way up to the U.S.-Canadian border in the eastern U.S. What a day we have coming up for tomorrow. southwest wind. This is a classic blowtorch day tomorrow. I think the record does not stand a chance tomorrow. We'll talk about the records a little more in just a second, but this is day 1 out of 3 in which we will be in record territory or flirting with records. Wednesday will be another day in which the record is in jeopardy. I do think there'll be more high clouds around on Wednesday, keeping the temperature from maybe getting as hot as tomorrow, but it'll still be in the mid-80s, and the record is still in the mid-80s on Wednesday. So again, flirting with a record on Wednesday. Could there be a late day shower or storm? Yes. I doubt it's as much as the model is showing here. Then as we go into the day Thursday, one last day in the warm sector. Most of this day is dry. Maybe there's a passing shower with our front. I don't think there'll be a lot of precipitation with the actual front. Sometimes when we get a big mondo strong cold front like this in the transition seasons, we'll have a thunderstorm outbreak. Does not look like it'll be the case in this situation. Not a lot of moisture for this to ring out, it looks like, on Thursday. So record most likely broken tomorrow. It's almost a guarantee, in fact. Tying a record on Wednesday. Our current forecast will probably be short of the record on Thursday. You know, our consistent temperature records at the Youngstown Warren Airport go back to 1930, but we have some records for a couple of years in the very late 1800s, and this is one of those years, or one of those records, I should say, that is included in that record, that data set back in the late 1800s. In 1898, 87 degrees on the 3rd day of October. Incidentally, again, 88 would tie the all-time October record high temperature, which occurred in the 1930s, no surprise. So if we get to 89 tomorrow, it'll be the hottest temperature ever recorded in Youngstown in the month of October. All right, what a change we have coming on Friday, though. Thursday night, the big change occurs, and then Friday, we don't get out of the 50s. I mean, these are afternoon temperatures. It'll be 25 to 30 degrees cooler on Friday as compared to Thursday. And what a change for high school football this week. Bundle up. We've had very warm Friday night football games lately, and 30, 25, 30 degrees cooler this time around with readings back in the 40s. It is hoodie weather this week for high school football. And I mentioned this morning on social media and on 21 News at 6. I'm not real concerned about a heavy frost Friday night, Saturday morning, but not going to be surprised in some of the sheltered valleys, the really chilly spots, maybe in parts of Mercer County especially, where some outlying areas, 36, 37 degrees is going to be a possibility. There might be some light frost in those areas. I don't think it's a widespread thing. I don't think this is our first widespread killing frost of the season. But I'm not going to be surprised if we have some mid-30s. And you can get frost with temperatures in the mid-30s, because remember, that temperature is measured a couple of feet above the ground. Down at ground level, it can be colder. So something that we'll be watching for as we go into the weekend. Does the chill stick around? The answer is no. I don't think fall is coming and just sticking, kind of like it did last year. The pattern flipped around the 10th of October last year, and then it was just fall with very little in the way of warm spells for the rest of October and into November. This year, I think it's going to be different. Now, will we see 80s? No. Keep in mind, our averages fall so quickly in October that a warm day in the second half of October is in the upper 50s. So, you know, when you see all this orange and red on the longer range map, that doesn't mean 80s. But yeah, it looks pretty mild in the 8 to 14 day outlook. And here's the Climate Prediction Center October forecast. I think they're right on it here. I agree with this, that we're going to see a continuation of the cool in the west, warm in the east pattern for the month of October. Will it be as dry as September turned out? I kind of doubt it. Notice the highest odds of above average precipitation across the upper Midwest, but even here, you know, at the airport it ended up being about average for the month, but no one lives at the airport, and in some parts of our area we got pretty parched in September. I don't think we'll see a repeat of that in October. I think that in most places in our TV viewing area we'll have more precipitation in October than we did in September. All right, long video tonight. Thanks for hanging with me and watching for weather for Weather Geeks. I'll see you back here on Tuesday evening, and we'll be recapping the likely record warmth that will have occurred Tuesday afternoon. See you then.